Adam Cole. Praise the wrestling gods. Adam Cole made the right choice. He left WWE in the rearview mirror. In the media scrum after the show, he said his NXT contract coming due when it did in June was as much a surprise to him as it was to the folks in WWE, corroborating the reports at the time that came out. He was under the impression that he had another 6 months left on his deal. All of a sudden, he went from thinking he'd be talking about a new contract in December to talking about a new deal in the span of about 72 hours. He confirmed the reports. You know, those reports from the dirt sheets that some of you love to claim are always wrong. You'll shout from the highest rooftop when they are wrong, but when they're right, boy, you people are awfully quiet. You know who you are. But he confirmed that he signed a short-term extension of his WWE deal to allow him to finish up his angle with Kyle O'Reilly. He's a very good friend of his. And he also confirmed the report that he met with Vince McMahon backstage at SmackDown, and he said the meeting was very positive. They had a great talk. He didn't say what they spoke about. He said he can be a little intimidating, but he said it was a very positive conversation. He did, in the media scrum, address the importance of being able to maintain streaming on his Twitch account. And I want to read you just the full quote here because I think it's important to put context to this and really show you how important this is. Some people kind of dismiss it. Oh, it's video games, it's Twitch, what's the big deal? But this just goes to show you how important this is to him. He said, "It is incredibly important to me. Twitch was sort of something I started over the pandemic and wanted to do for a long time, but hadn't really taken the time to teach myself. Initially, I really did do it just because I really like video games. But then what started from the Twitch stream was this community of people that would all come together and share that passion over video games. I have gotten so many messages from people who are going through a really, really rough time, and the only thing they looked forward to at that time were those streams. I feel a connection with a lot of these people. I know a lot of them by name. Social media can be a really nasty place sometimes, and there is none of that in the Twitch streams. So I adore doing that. I am so happy that I'm still doing it. I don't plan on stopping anytime soon." And I can understand him feeling that way because I get messages and I read them on the podcast sometimes from you guys. I get messages a lot from people who say similar things. Going through a rough time, whether it's an illness or a death in the family or someone lost their job, or someone's just depressed or had a bad breakup, whatever it might be. Everybody has their own stories and tough times that they're going through, but they say, oh, listening to the podcast or watching the streams for 2-3 hours, even just for those few hours, helps take my mind off things. And I love getting messages like that because it just shows to me, even when you may not be thinking about it, the power that a simple podcast can have. And I'm sure a lot of other content creators get messages like that all the time too, and those are the messages that really resonate with me. So I can understand him feeling like, wait, we have this community here. I get these really cool messages from people. This is not the sort of thing that I ever want to stop doing. So it goes beyond just video games. I understand the importance of building a community and what that means to a lot of people. I can relate to that. I can understand where he's coming from when he says that. And Adam Cole is a total class act. He did business the right way on his way out. He stayed when he didn't have to finish up and put over his buddy. He could have really put the company in a bind. But he didn't want to do that to Kyle O'Reilly. He didn't want to do that to Triple H. Triple H was good to him. It's all the uncertainty that I had about him on the main roster when he was out of the nest, so to speak, that concerned me. But Triple H positioned him as a top guy on that brand for the 4 years that he was there. He did things the right way on the way out. And in making the move from WWE to AEW, in his own words, he called it a fairly easy decision. Danielson has talked about how difficult of a decision it was. He could have gone either way. And it really was only in the final few weeks before he debuted that he made the final decision that he was going to make the jump. But that was a very telling quote, I think, from Adam Cole, who said, no, making the jump here was a fairly easy decision for me to make. Of course it was. Of course it was. Adam Cole, I said this on Twitter, Adam Cole has made tougher decisions about what to eat for fucking dinner than he did deciding to make the jump from WWE to AEW. Do I go with the steak tartare or do I go with the pasta primavera? That was a lot harder to decide than this was. Especially when we read about what WWE's plan was for him, had he decided to stay with the company and make that move to the main roster. We learned this week, as first reported by Ringside News, and I wanted to wait to see if anybody else reported it before I even commented on it, because that you never hear me mention that name on this podcast typically. But it was a few days later that Meltzer backed up the report. He said that one of the ideas for Adam Cole to move up to the main roster was to become a manager for a heel Keith Lee. This was either Vince McMahon or Bruce Pritchard's idea. They basically share the same brain, so you may as well just say it's Vince McMahon's idea. Because I'm sure Bruce Pritchard, when he comes up with ideas, he's coming up with ideas because he's worked for this guy for so long that in his mind, oh, Vince is going to like this. So it's Vince McMahon's idea. Let's just call it what it is. The belief is that the idea was presented to Adam Cole during that meeting that he had with Vince McMahon, which he now confirms he did have. They were said to be looking for a dynamic similar to what Leo Rush had with Bobby Lashley, where Rush, who was the small man in that duo, would talk a big talk and then he would hide behind the bigger man. And Meltzer says he also thought that they might change Cole's name because they already have Michael Cole on TV, because wrestling fans are fucking stupid, you see, and apparently they can't handle two people having the same name. That's like changing Steven Regal to William Regal, because they already had too many Steves. They had Steve Austin and they had Steve Blackman. They wanted to bring up Adam Cole, who spent 4 years in NXT having some of the best matches in the entire company, main event level talent who was in high profile programs and feuds, the longest reigning NXT champion of all time. He had an established identity. It's not like NXT is being hidden away at Full Sail like it was for years. The show has been on USA Network now for a couple of years, and Adam Cole has been at the forefront on this brand. Like I said before, for the entire time that he's there, people know who he is. His name has been established on television. The man headlined a sold-out takeover show at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn against Johnny Gargano for the NXT Championship, the greatest match in NXT history. Served as the leader of a dominant faction for the majority of those 4 years. Let's call him up and make him a manager. And maybe change his name while we're at it. This is the same company that wanted Thunder Rosa to try out for them, not as a wrestler, but as a referee. Even more than that, it would have been, and this is the thing that bothers me the most when I hear stuff like this, it would have been yet another slap in the face of NXT. And the fans who followed his career all throughout his run on NXT. If that's how they viewed him. And I told you, how many times did I say it on this show? Vince McMahon is going to take one look at Adam Cole and think, my God, this guy is small. Look at how short he is. Look at how skinny his arms are. And he would have very little chance of breaking out at a high level. Is there a chance? Of course, there's always a chance. There's always a chance. And Cole is a very talented guy. Maybe he would have shocked me and maybe he would have found a way to make it work. But why does he have to face these obstacles and these roadblocks in the first place? That's what gets me. Very little chance. Remember Road Dogg? If only he had the size of a Karrion Kross, he would be Universal Champion. Well, guess what? He's not the size of a Karrion Kross. So it was best for him to walk away when he did. Now he's in AEW. And he'll be making his in-ring debut this Wednesday on Dynamite in Newark against Frankie Kazarian. I like how on Wednesday he also got up in Tony Schiavone's face for getting a little too chummy with Britt Baker. Everyone is protective of Britt Baker. Tony Schiavone on his podcast with Conrad talked about hearing that Terry Taylor was asking about her. I don't know how long ago this was, but Terry Taylor works at the PC for WWE. He's been back with the company for a number of years now. And I guess Tony must have thought that maybe he was trying to do a little potential recruiting for WWE, asking about Britt Baker. So Schiavone sent Taylor a text message simply saying, "Don't you ever ask about her again. Go fuck yourself." He's like an overprotective father. But it's Terry Taylor. So the only acceptable thing to say is to tell him to go fuck himself. Especially after I was reminded all over again last week of the Daphne stuff from TNA.